Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Good evening and welcome to Plank of the Week. It's Friday night, it's 7 p.m, and you know what we're going to do. We're going to make a lot of judgments about a lot of people because we are, of course, in that business. Now, I've got a panel of some great people to help me out tonight, and I'm going to introduce them to you in a moment. But what we're going to do tonight is slightly different. We're going to do a slightly special edition of Plank of the Week, and it's going to be a Plank of the Year so far. How's it going? The people who have been named more often than others, the 10 nominees who have made it onto Plank of the Week the most since January. I'm delighted to say that joining me today from the Reform Party, Alex Phillips is here. Bodyguard to the Stars is Mr. Will Geddes. He's there. Isabel Oakeshott, talkTV's national editor. And, of course, the one and only Mr. Jeremy Kyle.
Hello.
Thank you very much indeed for coming. And here it is, the Plank of the Week. That's what they're all going to want to win. Let's kick things off straight away with the old favourites. It's got to be Alex Phillips.
Everyone give up, go home. I've got the winner already. Who can beat the Duke and Duchess of Montecito?
Yes.
Right?
Did she get given that, or did she arrive with that idea?
I'm not sure.
Because she's going to win.
Are you suggesting I'm incapable of having my own ideas?
I don't think that's fair at all. I mean, I don't know how this process works. So you go ahead and carry on and tell us why.
I mean, you can talk about the Q1 audit of the greatest plank so far of 2023, but I think what we discovered with Prince Harry and the publication of his book is a whole lifetime of plankery. Yeah. So much was given to us. The frostbitten, don't want to name it, the romp behind the pub, the taking all those drugs, the constant whining. I mean, all we've seen is a litany of essentially a guy who at one point we thought was super cool and the future of the royal family, turning out to be a total twazzock.
Yes, indeed. The twazzock is a good word.
Is it a joint sort of nomination, or because you've only talked about him?
It's interesting because she's kind of disappeared a bit. Yeah, she's receded into the backdrop, hasn't she, and allowed him to just embarrass himself.
She's preparing to dump him, maybe, because of his complete plankery.
One of the things that I thought, and I said at one point, as she started back up with this business called The TIG.
Yes.
Right? The TIG, which is her website. Which
there was a driver on Top Gear.
If you reverse it, it comes out as the Git. Which I presume is her other word for her husband. But, I said, if she's going back to this business that she ran, apparently quite successfully, where she sells candles and, all that sort of Gwyneth Paltrow type stuff. Yeah. And I think it's the beginning of the end for the marriage, because she's clearly now going, well, I've sort of got everything I can get out of this.
Bear in mind, nobody, she never knew who Prince Harry was. This wasn't manipulation at its best. She was never going to end up back in California with 2 kids, was she, or anything like that? No. I mean, this wasn't... I mean, this is a woman... They were saying last week she was going to be the most authenticity woman of the year or something.
Do you know what? You were saying 2 kids. I think she's got 3, because she has to wander around after that dope, doesn't she, doing her sort of best acting, doe-eyed.
Yeah. Well, it's like we said before they moved to the Montecito massive mansion that they've got, and they lived somewhere else, and they had there was a fence put up around, and everyone said, oh, it's to keep the paparazzi out. I'm like, no, I think it's to keep him in. Because he probably wants to escape every Saturday night and get out and go and have a good time, but she doesn't let him.
I've always had the book open for her getting a couple of kids out of the way, then she'll get rid of Harry, but then marry some bigwig in Hollywood.
Yes.
So she can... Again,
it's a stepping stone process.
But also the political ambitions last week we were talking about. Apparently she
really?
Can you imagine her?
But you can. That's the thing. You can actually imagine her. And actually, she's got the ammunition now as well, doesn't she? Because it's all being revealed about Harry's immigration status based upon all the confessions about taking drugs and should he be allowed in the country? Did he get special treatment?
Yes.
And we learnt, of course, from his repulsive book that while she sort of splays herself on her Hermes bedspread,
she's
lighting her vag candles and putting her crystals in the sunshine.
Say that again to him.
What candles?
Yeah, you missed it.
No, I heard that.
I
did hear that.
I
believe that is the shorthand. I think that's how you find them on the Goop website.
Even that, who came up with
I'm not sure we can say that. It's a bit late now. But also, let's not forget, this was also the year when people started laughing at Harry and Meghan. And you might remember the South Park clip. We want privacy. We want privacy. Let's have a look.
We want privacy! We want privacy! All right, thanks for having us on the show.
It's so awesome to be here. It's great.
So let me start with you, Sam. You've lived a life with the royal family. You've had everything handed to you, but you say your life has been hard, and now you've written all about it in your new book, Where?
So, I mean, once they start laughing, that's the end, isn't it? Chris Rock also had a go at them and said, all that stuff about the racism.
This is going from royal to celebrity, so take what's coming. If you want to open that door's going to...
But also, I love the fact that all the A-listers are now distancing themselves. So, whereas they were all invited to the wedding, none of them are actually around them anymore. And it's
didn't they miss out on the Oscars? Because Elton John normally has them at his party, and they didn't.
And the big thing with the coronation is because will he or won't he? I mean, look, it's their only oxygen, isn't it? If they don't come, then they won't have any footage. And it's quite interesting, is it not? Are they going to go to the Met Gala or the coronation? What gets more hits to the Archewell Foundation, the podcast that changes the world?
And also, we should remember as well that the prince and princess now of Montecito, the children, who we were told were not going to get royal titles because of racism in the royal family.
You've done that voice again, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. and now they've got titles.
And they keep them, presumably, whatever happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
and the family said, but don't worry, they won't be using them at nursery.
So slag off the
great. OK, then. So you don't have to,
slag off the system and only make money or be of interest by doing that, but then take titles for your kids.
Yeah.
Hypocrisy.
This is the thing. How are they going to keep refreshing their brand? Because they've kind of set their store, haven't they? He's published his tell-all book. Isn't she about to do one as well? I mean, Lord knows what stories that's going to tell.
And he's got another volume as well.
Hold on, if we're talking about tell-all memoirs, I think Isabel Oakeshott should be talking about it.
I mean, obviously...
Actually, hold on a second, I'm moving my phone. Start on that. I know what you're like.
You've got no dark secrets, have you?
If I did,
as long as you have no dark secrets,
I've renamed you Isabel WhatsApp. I'm not letting you in. Brilliant, by the way. What that Matt Hancock thing, can I just say, because I haven't seen you, I think was brilliant.
It was brilliant. It was absolutely fantastic.
Totally brilliant.
Also, her sister sued her this year, I think, Meghan Markle. She's not successful.
I mean, Jeremy knows a lot about rowing families. You should have them on, like, a newly revamped show. Get all the Markles in, have a few security guards, have some chairs being thrown around.
Many years ago. Sorry. No. I sit on chairs now, not stairs.
Yeah, exactly right. Right, well, I think that's a pretty good start.
I think she's won it. Should we go over?
No, we can't, because wait until you hear all the others are brilliant as well, because you forget, I mean, even though it's only April, you actually forget how much stuff has happened.
Just imagine how long this show's going to have to be.
I know.
By the time
I think we might need to be here for some time. Will Geddes, who's your first nomination?
Well, Alex, I'm going to take your Duke and Duchess of Montecito and I'm going to raise you a Sadiq Khan.
Oh. Yes.
Oh. Yeah, so Sadiq Khan, who is our pantomime villain, basically, of London, who has a litany, almost a literal stream of disasters behind him of wokeness. Any particular woke bandwagon he can jump on, he's leading the charge, isn't he?
He is.
Whether it be cycle lanes to then congest it. I don't know whether either of you guys or any of you guys have been up Park Lane recently.
What's
it's a
the point
disaster.
of that?
Yeah. Absolute disaster. And yet the other side is not.
The whole of London is a disaster.
The whole of London is a disaster.
Him.
South Carriageway, which used to be a great way of alleviating rush hour and commuting, that's still locked with the Queen Elizabeth gates.
But don't worry, though, because he's saving your life, Will.
He is.
There are 4,000 people, according to him, that die of air pollution every single year in London.
I know.
It's only 3,999 out.
I know.
Because one person died of air pollution, according to the record.
How did he get elected?
Jeremy, we can't say anything against the ULEZ thing, because if we do, we are self-proclaimed Nazis by Sadiq Khan's
right-wing nutters.
own words.
How did he get elected, seriously?
COVID denies. The Labour machine in London. London is a Labour city. It's as simple
to be honest,
as that.
I don't
Anybody
really know.
will get it.
I mean, Sean Bailey had my vote. He would have probably made a much better mayor.
But he was a bit of a plank as well.
Don't be mean about Sean.
He was a bit of a plank.
He's pretty good on politicians.
No, he was a bit plank.
Have you been playing through his WhatsApps?
No, but I do recall that he is another... Not that I have anything against rule-breaking during COVID, but he is... Do you not remember?
He was a picture,
What, when he came round to my place?
He wasn't very dynamic, was he, Sean Bailey? And he certainly wasn't backed, I felt, by the Tory
party. He
wasn't backed by the party.
His campaign was really lame. He just was not. He failed to excite. Not that Sadiq Khan excited, but look,
Slightly different to Zach Goldsmith,
here's what I can show you.
We could go there.
I can show you a clip from Sadiq Khan at the London Assembly when he was attacking Conservatives, basically, because it's not bad enough that Conservatives are not people that he likes very much. He thinks that they're even worse than that. Have a look at this.
The Conservatives clearly do not care about our children developing permanently stunted lungs and clearly do not care about the premature deaths in our city directly attributable to air quality because they're in the pockets of vested interest.
Thank you. And you mentioned some of the...
Chair, I'd like to have a point of personal explanation. I won't sit here and accept that. You've said the Conservatives... Hang on. You have said the Conservatives on the... No, the Mayor has said the Conservatives on the Assembly do not care about the air quality that children breathe. You are saying that I do not care about the air quality that my children breathe.
I'm the chair and you make comments through me. Do you hear that?
There's a lot of noise going on there. I mean, effectively, he's basically said Conservatives don't care about children dying prematurely from air pollution.
Yeah, because we're all evil.
Yeah.
Everybody on the right is evil. We don't care about children dying.
Yeah.
Just ridiculous. The only thing I would say against him winning the plank so far of this in this quarterly review is he's just not really that big a figure.
No,
that's my problem.
But Isabel, he has such an influence over London. And I mean, I'd hate to quote on the irony of him sticking the knife into the Conservatives, because one of the things he hasn't achieved is anything to do with knife crime. And in fact, knife crime is drastically in London. And there's been a real sway of people wanting to leave.
I'll tell you what he's achieved. A lot of people travel for free on TfL, on the tube, on the bus. Did you see the story the other day?
No.
54,000 people are allowed to travel for free on TfL because they're friends and family of people that work for TfL.
Of course
so you don't even have to be a relative.
Do people work for TfL? I hadn't noticed in the last...
Well, not very much. But you don't even have to be a relative of a TfL person. You can live in the same flat. You can flat share with them and you get free travel. 54,000.
Wow. So we've got entire tower blocks of people probably sharing the same address, and then you go...
Can you imagine how closely they check it? You go, oh, yeah, I'm a friend of his.
Do you remember that heart-rending video clip he did about how people tease him because he looks like a pigeon? This is one of the few things... I can't get it out of my head, sorry. Now I look at him and I just think...
I've got it on WhatsApp somewhere.
I just think pigeon. I think that joke's getting a little bit wearing... Are we going to have to do a full 45 minutes of you doing that?
No, I'm leaving
I'm going to count.
Yeah,
right, okay.
That's don't overdo it. Because
no,
you know what they say.
You know what I've always ever done it.
Well, never. Not to my knowledge.
I mean, where I pitched my tent on Sadiq Khan over and above the Duke and Duchess of Montecito is the fact that the Duke and Duchess are kind of like an irritant in the distance.
Yes,
They don't affect us on a day-to-day basis. Where Sadiq Khan is just making London worse every day.
Can you imagine if he actually wins again?
Is there? It's unlikely to happen.
It is a possibility because the Tories never ever seem to be able to come up with anybody that's that great.
No. Yeah. Well, it's a bit like the Americans, isn't it? They can't find anybody.
Why would the Tories not look at what Sadiq Khan's done in London? So all the black cabs, by the way, he's destroyed their lives.
Yeah. Well, do you know, I'm not one for conspiracy theories, but I sometimes wonder whether they do it deliberately. Whether they actually like having Sadiq Khan or somebody that they can call kind of the enemy running London.
Maybe.
Because it suits their purpose. Because London is now lost to the Tories. I mean, let's face it, the only place that Labour won a seat in the last election was Putney.
Was it Putney?
You know, that great, highbrow...
Off Justine Greening?
Yeah, that great highbrow centre of Volvo drivers and, champagne socialists.
I mean, I'm amazed that, Kensington and Chelsea has actually got a Labour council.
Well, yeah, but quite a lot of Kensington and Chelsea...
surprised
No, but Kensington and Chelsea takes in lots of places...
They've gone woke,
Isabel's
right, they've got a woke in Kensington as well, haven't they?
No, but it's not that posh in parts of Kensington. But
I live in Kensington,
we have found the clip of Sadiq Khan as a pigeon. So we're going to show it.
Oh, brilliant. Got to see this.
Am I the only one who thinks Sadiq Khan looks like a pigeon? I really don't think that's true. More like a silver fox, no?
Now, just when you thought that, she's already won it with the Montecito Massive, let's have yours.
Nicola Sturgeon.
I mean, I missed out today.
This is amazing.
I mean, what can I say? Just look at her. Look at her. You don't have to really elaborate much more on that. What an absolute example, a symbol of female plankery.
Yes, incredible. Incredible.
But I say female, but is it a female? Is it not a female? We'll not know because she doesn't know.
She doesn't know.
I mean, the umming and ahhing, that utterly cringe moment when, apparently so many other politicians, she just struggled to know whether a woman did or didn't have a penis, honestly. And now it's just gone from bad to worse. This is a woman who practically had independence within her grasp. Yeah. And it is now all completely disintegrated because on one fine day she woke up and decided that actually she knew the time was right to step down. No external factors were involved.
None, obviously
just when the time's right, the time's right. You've got to, you've got to know.
You know when it's time to go and your husband's about to be arrested.
That's when you start digging holes in your garden, right?
Well, listen, here's the other thing, right? There was a particular moment, and you can track it back to this moment. This was when it all went horribly wrong. This is Nicola Sturgeon being asked about the trans rapist.
Yeah.
Oh. My question is, are all trans women women? You haven't answered that question.
Well, that's not the point that we're dealing with
here.
That's
the question I'm asking.
Trans women are women, but in the prison context, there is no automatic right for a trans woman.
So there are contexts where a trans woman is not a woman?
No, there is circumstances in which a trans woman will be housed in the male prison estate.
I mean, there should have been a big explosion that went off behind her there. That was the moment. That was the moment.
But you talk about it can never quite work out that a woman who systematically had got, as you said, it was there in her grasp, right? Was that stupid to all that trans rape? This person raped 2 women.
As a man.
As a man, Isla Bryson raped...
Adam Graham, I prefer to call it.
Raped 2 women. Let's just leave it there.
And then she doubles down with this whole legislation thing, which is completely unnecessary.
Yeah. Barking mad as well.
The most crazy part of all of this was when Isla Bryson turned up at the court hearing wearing, like, skimpy little tiny...
I knew you were going to say
leggings with the lunchbox on full display. And you're like, really? You're just trolling us right now.
Bad.
It was more like a sandwich short of a picnic.
Hey!
but incredible, isn't it, that in the past sort of couple of weeks alone, we've seen Peter Murrell resigning, because it was also the right time for him to resign, again, shortly before he got arrested by the police.
Just want to know what's in that garden. Don't we all? I mean, what is in that garden?
It's all speculation. We need to make that point.
Everything in the garden
Maybe
is
nothing
rosy.
but bulbs.
Spring bulbs.
Are they having an event, though? Because they've got a lot of tents in the back of the garden. Is it like a budget marquee?
It's a fundraiser, that's what it is.
It's a fundraiser.
I'm keeping well out of it.
This way to the hot cross buns. It is Easter, after all. Anyway,
interesting relationship, but interesting to see how that will unfold in the next few days, because they were Scotland's power couple.
They were
spot
actually.
on.
Somebody described them as the real-life House of Cards couple.
Yeah.
Because they kind of were. They kind of ran Scotland as if it was their own sort of fiefdom.
Domain.
And nobody else really got a look in. So
but there was never any glamour, that's the difference. There was never any glamour. I mean, look at her, look at him, look at the house. Sorry to be snobby.
That was really
See, if I said that, slaughtered.
You've worked for the Daily Mail. That house would not have passed the Daily Mail test, would it?
It would not pass.
Gone, what's the house like? Oh, God.
No,
Here's the interesting thing, and I don't know if you read about it today, the house cost £600,000.
Yeah, very expensive house.
Really?
That was a rip-off. I'm sorry.
Anyway,
maybe it's
more will be revealed.
Listen, it is all speculation, and we'll see. But it's a story.
Listen, by the time we do Plank of the Year in December, who knows what we'll know?
I think that's brilliant. Will you not be doing a second quarter one, then?
I might do.
In June.
It's impossible to say.
And then one in September.
I never make plans that far in advance.
No, I mean, listen, that's too far in advance.
I never make plans that far in advance.
Absolutely.
Chuck would never allow it.
He doesn't even know what's going on anyway, your producer.
Well, never mind. I think he's gone home. Who's yours?
Well, look, it just doesn't stack up now, does it? I mean, Harry and Meghan, I wanted.
Oh, yes, it does.
Yeah.
Gary Lineker,
Come on.
ladies and gentlemen.
Come on.
Gary's
Good old Gaza.
I'm still, you know, last year we had the whole, you know, go to the World Cup, don't show the opening ceremony, some diatribe about how it shouldn't have taken place there. What's being on a £400,000
Human
contract,
rights.
you know, to work for the state broadcaster.
Yeah.
And this year, of course, the tweet, Suella Braverman doing her bit about small boats, and everybody talks about it each and every day, and then she makes a plan, and the response, of course, from Gary Lineker is to send that tweet, and the world erupts, and the BBC are like, the BBC, you know, you're supposed to be the state broadcaster. This isn't acceptable. But he's not in the news department. He can say what he wants. Free speech. Let's get rid of him. He's gone. And then he's back. He's now more powerful than the chairman of the BBC, who only got his job for a slight thing from Boris Johnson.
Yeah.
Gary Lineker, right? I believe in free speech, but he's just hypocritical.
He's just taking it.
I think this is slightly undermines your argument, though, because he has actually completely played the BBC.
Yes.
So as a plank, he's a rather skillful plank. And he's a very bloody rich plank as well.
It's not all about the size of your house and your money, is it?
It definitely helps him if HMRC thinks...
How shallow are you, Isabel? He just annoys the hell out of me, to
He is an incredibly annoying individual.
He's a bit of a self-righteous...
It's sanctimonious.
It's a great word.
Yeah.
It's just that whole... do as I say, don't...
Virtue signalling.
Yes.
But he also,
shut up.
He almost killed Mrs Miggins over Christmas, by the way.
Who's Mrs Miggins?
Well, who is Mrs Miggins? He did his whole blah, 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 LGBTQ plus XYZ in Qatar, which no one had ever given a damn about before.
She makes Yorkshire pudding.
Exceedingly good cakes. Is that her?
But, but actually what people don't realise is the reason all of that was taking place, all the kerfuffle and noise about gay rights in Qatar during the World Cup, was because we were about to buy a load of LNG off Qatar to to keep the lights on this winter. And that whole campaign was being fed and funded by the other nations who didn't want Qatar to sell us the gas. And Gary Lineker leading that campaign got us this close to losing what we needed to heat Mrs. Higgins.
I think what it is for me, and I agree with you, you know, you could say he took on the BBC and, you know, I thought it was quite interesting that Match of the Day without any pundits got 500,000 more viewers than when Match of the Day has.
Although when they came back, they got even more.
Did they?
We're going to talk about the BBC.
And I know, Shearer, but the point about, yes, he's just a bit smug, he's a bit sanctimonious.
100%.
And a bit like Gary Neville, we know exactly what you are. You're paid-up members of the Labour Party. Why don't you give up presenting on the state broadcaster, stand for Parliament, or just do
one reason, as if you didn't need one, extra reason to have him as Prime. He runs a podcast company, and he pays Alistair Campbell to do a podcast. You know, the guy who took us into war in Iraq, which you know a thing or two about. You know, that puts him into super plank category as far as I'm concerned.
So you don't think he's a good enough plank? I'll just shut up.
I actually think the BBC is more plankish for having given in to him.
Well, I agree
with you.
Well, in that case, you'll be looking forward to the next part of the show.
See, I've been given a real dud. And do you know why that is? Because every time I come on this show, I don't accept a fee, but I've always won. And I haven't got a bloody open L tonight.
You've got another nomination.
I might as well go. She's going to win.
No, don't worry. Listen, coming up, we've got more nominations. BBC might make an appearance. A certain former Secretary of State for Health is in there as well, you might be pleased to know. And somebody who's in a refugee camp somewhere near the Syrian border. It's all coming up next on this special edition of Plank of the Week. Yes, here we go. God. Welcome back to Plank of the Week. We are here for one reason and one reason only, and that is to find out who has been the biggest plank of the year so far, even though it's only just after Easter. We thought we'd give you sort of an update. So far, we've had Harry and Meghan, we've had Sadiq Khan, Nicola Sturgeon, Gary Lineker. I mean, it's a pretty good collection of people. But I'm going to bring you the next one, and Isabel, you'll be pleased with this. It is, in fact, the BBC. Not just because of the way they messed up Gary Lineker's situation, allowed loads of people to walk out on the job, didn't really know what to do. My favourite quote was from the head of sport, a woman whose name I can't remember, who, when they said they suspended Gary Lineker, all the other people walking out, she said, we didn't see that coming. And you go, really? You didn't see the idea that that Alan Shearer would go... and everybody else in the whole sort of sports department who presented shows would walk out. And it was unbelievable. But that's not the only thing they've done. They've also let go of Ken Bruce, probably one of the most successful and popular men on Radio 2, the latest in long line. Worse than that, they interviewed him on BBC Breakfast the day he was leaving to say, cheerio. Ken, thanks very much. Now
he is a legend, and by the way, you know, Popmaster. I'm sorry, I have to put this. Is going on television.
It's going to Channel 4.
Absolutely,
they've lost that as well.
Ken Bruce is a bloody legend.
Yeah, he is, and so he's gone to Greatest Hits Radio or something like that. He's taken. Is it Greatest Hits?
I misheard
I thought you said something else.
You've got a filthy mind.
No, haven't she? No.
Listen, let's not get on to that subject.
Thought you said hits
I did not. I didn't say it. But anyway, I could say it. No, I'm not going to say that. So Fiona Bruce as well, also called Bruce. I don't know if they got something about Bruce's. Fiona Bruce was hung out to dry.
As well,
because she clearly had to say on Question Time,
totally
she had to defend Stanley Johnson because he was accused of basically being a wife beater. She had to make the sort of clarification. Obviously, because the producer was in her ear saying, well, it happened once.
They just let us swing,
didn't they? Let us swing.
They did.
And she'll probably be out of that job soon, I bet you, you know, a pound for a penny.
It was awful, that.
Or a penny for a pound.
I like Fiona Bruce.
I like Fiona Bruce.
Also, of course, they're putting up the licence fee in the midst of all of this madness.
Well, this was frozen for 2 years by Nadine Dorries, of course, and now it's going up.
Where they're supposed to be slimming it down. They're supposed to be sort of making sure that they don't spend quite so much money as they used to. They're putting it up 13 quid.
And what about the pensioners? What about the old people?
And they're still locking up people for not paying the licence fee, and they're still sending people around. Who was that woman whose daughter's been missing for 14 years and who've been sending letters to her to say...
And 900,000 people failed to pay their licence fee. Nearly 1 million last year. It's going to get worse and worse, and they've put it up.
And
the BBC are a disgrace.
Yeah, also their local journalists and radio are going on strike, which doesn't seem like the thing to do to me. And finally, my main reason, which is why I'm...
Got lots of reasons.
I have put them in plank of the year so far, is David Attenborough. David Attenborough, right?
Controversial.
Who is ancient... Hang on, you haven't heard what I'm about to say. Not because I don't like David Attenborough. I do like David Attenborough. In fact, I love David Attenborough because he's a national treasure. Why do they keep putting him to work? He's ancient, right? He's going to die. They should stop. Mate, they're taking him to these islands.
So this is abusive. It's an abusive relationship.
They took him to some godforsaken island off the coast of
Just
Wales.
left him there with penguins.
To look at some
Where did he sleep? What did he eat?
He's windswept, he's on this boat.
They have
He's about
acknowledged
98 or
this.
something, isn't he?
Yes, bless him.
Isabel Oakeshott.
He's still taking the coin, though.
They have acknowledged this, haven't they? Because there was a headline recently saying BBC don't kill David or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's all about him not going abroad now, I think.
Well, it's not just don't go abroad.
Big concession.
But you're better off going to a nice place abroad rather than some godforsaken windswept island,
Antarctica.
which is unpopulated in the middle of the Welsh causeway or whatever it is.
I know what you should do with that area.
And also, worse than that, right? The birds had bird flu. Apparently, they were worried some of these birds had bird
so
flu. And there was actually a
He
conversation.
could have killed David Attenborough.
He could have died of bird flu.
The BBC. I tell you what, let Harry and Meghan and take it out the door. The BBC threatening to kill David Attenborough allegedly through bird flu. They're going to win.
Oh, it's a shocker, isn't it? Right. Alex has got another good one.
Oh, I know.
Oh, of
sorry.
course.
If I haven't already won, I'm definitely going to
give the
double
best because
down.
This is the first time on here.
No, I didn't.
I have got the one and only Matt Plancock. Come on.
Very good.
You know, if I do win, the prize has to be shared with Isabel because she was the one.
I've exposed the sheer scale of the plankery.
Yes, you
exactly.
did.
But, I mean,
we thought he was a bit of an idiot until you managed to show
Can I
us
just
that
say
it was a lot
this?
worse
I
than
think
that.
it was the most astonishing thing, and fair play for what you did, showing up what somebody in such an important position was able to do. I thought it was a brilliant piece of journalism.
Thank you. I'm afraid it had to be done.
Yeah,
with great
I think
regret.
so.
What's so beautiful is you can tell this guy is so desperate for celebrity and adoration, can't you? Little weaseling, sneaking. Look at me. And it's the fact that his ego is so big it eclipsed his common sense about going, oh, here you go, have all of my private messages, make me look good.
Who does that?
Make me look good. Who does
Sorry,
that?
can you just hold there a second? Isabel Oakeshott just said, and this is my point, who does that?
Can I just say...
Let's give it to an investigative journalist who was anti the lockdown. There you go.
Can I also just say that Isabel was brilliant here because, you know, for weeks and weeks and weeks she knew about this stuff, which she couldn't say anything about, couldn't tell us. Even the people that she knew she could trust couldn't say a thing, but kept saying repeatedly to people who said, can't understand why Isabel's working with that guy. What an absolute disgrace. He's a traitor to the cause, you know. We were all supposed to be anti-lockdown. What the hell does she think? She's just after the money. And, of course, it then turns out that it wasn't the reason at all.
Brilliant.
But you were very decent to him. You kept saying, well, he's quite hard. He works very hard. When he was in the jungle...
I mean, there are redeeming features. There are redeeming features, but there's something that's still bugging me, which I don't think has had enough attention about this and the plankery, because there was a whole nother level of plankery. He actually deleted a whole month's worth of the WhatsApp at the critical period.
And still left the ones that he gave you.
Yeah, thinking that I wasn't going to notice that mysteriously in March 2020 a load of WhatsApps disappeared. What is in those WhatsApps?
Well,
where has he buried them?
Can I just say with it,
bottom of Nicola Sturgeon's garden.
I actually consider myself a friend of yours. I don't think he's going to
Will, we may have to...
Isabel, I'm sure we can recover them for you.
He can recover them.
You go up to Sturgeon's house tonight, allegedly in the dark of night.
Can't just say allegedly, and that's
hard
okay.
drives we need to check?
Matt Plancock, we've changed it officially now to that name. But that is brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get gold and silver. You're a disgrace.
Do you know what, though? This is the point. These nominations are all so good, though. We may not be able to pick a winner. We may have to put it to a vote. We may have to change the way the show is done.
Why is it always...
It's always me.
Because it's his independent republic.
It's independent republic of Mike Graham. It's not a democracy.
He's a dictator.
Don't be silly.
Not even that benign. You know, he's just a dictator.
It's not that benign.
Jeremy, you know it's not a democracy.
Will, who have you got for us?
OK, so,
Here's another good one.
It's a very poor attempt to try and compete with you here, Alex. But it is the poster girl of the modern times of terrorism, the beautiful Shamima Begum, who will change costume more often than a pantomime villain. She's
this is
not
her
only,
spring look,
but also again, plays
this is her spring look.
That's her spring look.
For the Paris
beautifully into your nomination, Mike. You know, with the BBC, who pandered.
They did a podcast.
There have been various
glossy
documentaries.
magazine things.
And you know, the thing I really love is the Dutch journalist who didn't really get a great deal of coverage, who really got to know Shamima very, very well.
Oh, yes.
And then revealed that she was trying to groom him, and she dropped this legend, this facade of, I'm converted, I am not a supporter of Islamic State anymore. and showed her up for basically this whole act that she's been putting on for everybody, trying to get herself back. And I think that it's the waste of money by the BBC.
Apparently that was called I'm Not a Monster, by the way.
I know, perfect, yeah. How ironic. Yeah.
I don't identify as a monster.
No.
Personally, I think, you know, what Sajid Javid did, I think what everybody in the Conservative government has done and continue to do, and Suella Braverman as well, in keeping her out of the country, making her stateless, bravo. Because we've had a few British Islamic State fighters return to the UK. There's not a lot of publicity about it, but she, as the poster girl, should be sending that message to anybody else in the future. Do not go off and join a death cult against this country and think you can just return and have a slap on the wrist.
I would say about your nomination here is that she's just a bit too sinister to be a plank, isn't she? I mean, planks are boring, planks are just unremarkable.
Is she sinister? Or I mean, you know all those people that went, oh, she was
I think you're giving her more credit.
No, the great thing about the planks is that you can have anything as a plank, because on the one hand, it can be something which is not too serious, it can be something which is not too dangerous. We once had the entire Iranian government as planks, you know.
So, but on a technicality,
and I haven't been assassinated yet.
on a technicality, I would argue the plank isn't Shamima. The plank is everyone who's been given all this coverage and turning over.
I think that's fair. I think we could club them all together. I think so. And
I'm getting sort of a vibe of a two-tier plank of the year so far.
Well, I'm just getting a vibe of the fact I don't know why I even bothered. Who have I got next?
Well,
Miggins.
No, don't worry. You've got a great one coming up. Coming up, it may have something to do with what happened in a Manhattan courtroom. Also, of course, we'll be having a look at another politician who's not quite sure what a woman is, or at least what some women are. It's all coming up next on this Plank of the Week special edition. Welcome back to this special edition of Plank of the Week. We're trying to figure out who has been on the Plank of the Week list for longer and more often than anybody else. So far, we've got some incredible names and incredible organisations as well. Isabel, it's up to you next to give us yours.
Oh, look, I have got an absolute winner on my hands here with none other than Sir Keir Starmer.
Of course.
Now, I'm going to do a little bit of a test on you all, because I want you to name, let's be really modest here. I'm going to go for you first.
Oh, God.
Can you name 3 Keir Starmer policies?
No.
Can you name 2?
None.
Not even one?
Not
Alex?
No, not one. But actually, here's the living human definition of a plank, isn't it? I mean, if you looked at plank in the dictionary, it'd probably say Keir Starmer.
I can't name any because he's never had an original thought in his head.
What is the point of Sir Keir Starmer? And by the way, he's also, like planks, he is also very lazy, because he thinks that he doesn't have to do anything at all.
I'm going to disagree with you.
Or say anything.
This is why I think the next 2 years are really interesting. Against Boris Johnson and all that chaos, he just stood there all loyally, didn't he, at the dispatch box, and he didn't need to say anything. I'm not a massive
Do you mean during
COVID?
Or?
The whole thing.
Right.
I'm not a massive Sunak fan, but Sunak fan, he's brought a bit of order, and there seemed to be a formulated plan. And suddenly I think you will see Starmer floundering, because as you said, I don't think he's actually got anything. I think he's got to this point by saying bugger all, basically.
Well, the only
and
policies
now they're going to bring him
are the
to
ones
task.
which are completely opposite to the ones he used to have, right?
Yes, like Jeremy Corbyn.
Like his good mate Jeremy Corbyn.
Serving his cabinet.
Who should be
now
Prime Minister.
I mean, what we do know about Keir Starmer is that his policy agenda will basically be to take everything that the Tories have screwed up and screw it up even more.
Yes.
He will make...
And tax the rich.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So anything that's bad already is going to get a whole lot worse. And he thinks that he can just sail in there, and actually, in a mark of his sheer volume of his plankery, he has actually made it possible that Sunak might actually get somewhere.
I think he might. I think he might, because not least because of his 2 kind of weak spots, his 2 Achilles heels. One, because he did put out his 5-point mission, didn't he? I can't remember one of the things he said he was going to do.
I can't remember
Starmer's 5 missions.
It'll be something about net zero.
But I can tell you what they weren't. Not one of those 5 missions involved immigration, which is the single biggest issue for most people in this country, right?
Wow.
And second of all, of course, is his famous stance on women. And how, for a long time, he couldn't answer a question about what a woman was.
Oh, he did the other day, said
99.9%
of women don't have a penis.
Let's have a look at the clip. I think we have it.
Nick, I'm not... I don't think we can conduct this debate with, you know...
Sorry, have I offended you in some way?
No, it's just... No, I just...
a woman can have a penis.
I don't think that discussing this issue in this way helps anyone.
That was his answer to, can you please tell me what a woman is?
Did you see the bloke from New Zealand, Chris Hipkin?
Oh, my God.
I wasn't
expecting left field, that question.
I went on Dame Edna Everidge there, but he was like, I don't ready for that question.
Yeah, and he said, you can define your own gender.
Gender.
I don't know
why are politicians so obsessed with it? Why are they not able to answer that question? What is it?
I'll tell you what a woman is, and it's standing right next to Sir Keir Starmer, and that is Angela Rayner, the absolute embodiment of a woman. And actually, if she were in charge, I think that Sunak would be in more difficulty.
I think he would be.
Look, at least she's fiery. At least she's got something about her.
She's even more left-wing now, because Starmer's trying to be Blair, isn't he? Starmer's
and it was never going to work.
But let's not forget, his latest pronunciation on women was when he gave an interview to the Sunday Times and tried to obviously give some ground. And he said that 99.9% of women don't have a penis.
Did he do a personal audit on
So what about the 0.1?
Meaning that apparently 1 in 1,000 women, according to Keir Starmer, has got a penis. I don't know where he's been hanging out.
Yeah.
But I have to say...
Good phrase, hanging out. I like that.
That's not been my experience.
How many... no, let's not go there.
I don't know why you looked at me. I'm Keith Isabel.
I'm looking at you.
You've just admitted that to her.
I'm just looking at
1,000?
1 in 1,000.
The Mike Graham files.
I'm not saying anything about my own personal situation,
no.
but Will's the man to ask about this. How many women? How many women have you been with who had a penis?
None. Michael,
I feel that this show
I can
has
safely
taken a decidedly un-Easter-like turn. I mean...
Well, let's hope there'll be a resurrection at the end of it. Eh?
No, we didn't want to know.
You could feel free to answer it.
I don't think it's a question I can answer.
Shall we have a look at that New Zealand gender specialist?
Chris,
what is a woman, Chris? What is it?
Come on, Chris.
Go on, Chris.
Chris!
Biology, sex, gender. People define themselves. People define their own genders.
Gender.
Does he look like the guy from the Mad comics to you?
He does, yeah.
You know, the bloke with the red hair and the big ears.
Yeah, I remember.
Was
he had
he
the old
Archie
freckles and the big old ears.
There are only 4 million people in New Zealand. I'm not a great player. Anyway, that's the Prime Minister.
How many of them decide their own gender?
I mean,
that is the Prime Minister.
I know.
You would have thought after Jacinda they couldn't get any worse, but I think they have. Yeah.
I think they've managed.
Is she on the Plank nomination list? No, Jacinda?
She was going to be, but I've been given another crap
one. Not really this year. You know, last week...
But there's been a spectacular symbol of plankery this week, hasn't there, with her, heart-rending speech about her IVF.
Well, worse than that, on last week's Plank of the Week, we had Prince William for hiring her. Prince William's actually hired her.
That was weird.
Why?
Yeah,
that was a
she's
fail.
going to be some kind of environmental ambassador or something.
Yeah.
Don't talk to your neighbours.
Sex and gender.
Anyway.
Don't listen to the news unless it's coming
I'm not
from
bothering.
us.
Now, this is a bit left field, but I'll just give this to you. You could say Donald Trump, because this week what we've seen is unprecedented. The 45th President of the United States is now a criminal defender. But for me, because I'm utterly transfixed by this whole story, Alvin Bragg, the Democrat DA in Lower Manhattan, who's still on a ticket, so warped is American politics, he's still on a ticket that said, I'm going to bring down Trump.
Yeah.
He got elected because 99% of New York City is Democrat.
It's like Putnam.
I honestly promise you, in my humble opinion, this guy is supreme plankery across the whole world because he has reignited, I don't care what all the doomsday say, this man has guaranteed that Donald Trump will get the Republican nomination by a merry mile. When it started this, DeSantis and Trump were like that. Now he's 25 points in front. 70% of Americans now say their criminal justice system is utterly devoid of any sense. And Melvin Bragg...
See, I think Melvin Bragg knows as much about jurisprudence in America as this guy does.
And this guy is on this course, and whatever people say about Melania didn't turn up, doesn't matter. He has put Donald Trump... Every network, everywhere in the world on that day and for days after, it's all about Donald Trump. The money's pouring in. That guy could give Donald Trump the keys back to the White House.
He could.
That deserves being... It's better than Gary Lineker. I think he deserves a round of applause.
Let's have a look at how... the Donald... So you've come back. You've been the final straight.
I feel like
you've come back.
I've come back into 8th place.
We're almost in the final...
Run on.
Let's have a look at how Donald Trump responded to the courtroom appearance.
Incredibly, we are now a failing nation.
We are a nation in decline. And now these radical left lunatics want to interfere with our elections by using law enforcement. We can't let that happen.
He is brilliant, isn't he?
I'm ready to vote for him.
Yeah.
Can I just say something?
too.
We can sit here and go 340 million Americans, and the best you can do is a doddery old git who literally can't get up the stairs and forgets people's names. And Donald Trump, that says something. But this guy, I mean, they will delay this criminal case months and months. And all he has to say is, and it is fair to say, and I'm not taking his side, Richard Nixon got a pardon from Gerald Ford for Watergate.
Can you imagine? Because it doesn't preclude him from standing, does it? Can you imagine, like, you know, the first day of the new president, Donald J. Trump, and he's doing it from Clink?
I know.
He's there, like, behind him in a prison
bring in a law that safeguards him from prosecution.
But he won't be going anywhere near prison.
No,
because,
he won't.
Not only is this case not even solid enough to go forward, because the statute of limitations says that it's too late. Because unless he can find a federal crime that's been committed, and so far there isn't one, it cannot go forward. So the next date in court, which is December the 6th, is ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Because by then, everybody will have forgotten.
But I think Melvin Bragg have done that deliberately.
Melvin Bragg, and also, well, it's either Melvin Bragg or Alvin Stardust, isn't it? One of the two.
Do you remember, who was he married to? Liza Goddard. Where did they get that from? Yeah. Alvin Stardust was married to Liza.
I can guarantee by the time Trump goes to court, there will have been nothing done about Hunter Biden.
Can I ask you all a question? Do you not agree that he will win the nomination now?
I think he will, absolutely, without
question. Do you think
question.
he can win the keys to the White House?
Yeah, I think he will. I think he will.
Alvin Bragg!
Well, as my namesake on your show pointed out to you, Michael Graham, the one who's not as good as me.
No.
But you keep using him and then quoting Mike Graham.
Only because I say book Mike Graham.
Well,
I expect them to book you, and then some American man keeps coming on.
Well, he said, you know, imagine if it becomes a two-horse race and you've got Biden, anything can happen to him. I mean, I don't wish to be morbid, but, you know, he could trip over, he could fall down, he could make some mess of terrible conversation.
Can I just explain the theory that somebody was telling me? And I'm not into conspiracy theories like you.
No.
But some people believe that the Democrats are behind this in their great belief that if the right rises and Donald Trump gets the nomination, they believe that the Democrats have a greater chance Biden does against Trump than he would do against DeSantis.
Which is
that might be the case, but what they've missed is America. 70% of them say this is a charade. This shouldn't happen.
It is. It's ridiculous. It's kind of embarrassing. You know,
it's the Western world.
I was talking to some friends of mine who live over there, and they were just saying they just felt kind of just really, really sad that this is what their politics has come to.
Yeah.
You know, we've got a bit of it here with Boris Johnson.
Definitely relate to, right?
Well, Boris Johnson and the whole kind of, you know, derangement syndrome about him, they've got the same kind of people there who just don't want to see Trump and will do anything to stop him. And they think this is it. And it isn't.
But really just use that.
Well, I mean, one of the counts is a guy who was apparently a doorman at Trump Tower who apparently claimed to the National Enquirer that Trump had a child out of wedlock and Trump supposedly paid him £30,000. It turns out there was no child. The story wasn't true. But they've still included it.
Was he a doorman?
Hang on, in the National Enquirer, it wasn't true.
Yeah.
I know.
The story never ran.
Yeah.
So, you know, the whole idea of the story...
I know he's not going to win, but I think
wrong.
Melvin Bragg deserves a shout-out.
Melvin Bragg, I'd like to... I hope he get the South Bank show back afterwards if he wins.
I think so. Do you remember the South Bank show?
I do.
I do, too.
Yeah. I don't. You've got to go to a break.
This isn't as good as Plank of the Week, but never mind. This is a very highbrow show, as you can imagine. Coming up next, we're going to have to decide who is going to win. So far, the Plank of the Year, but I've got one final nomination to throw into the mix, and it has something to do with strikers. That's all I'm saying.
Is that a thing?
Yeah. Welcome back to the final stage of Plank of the Week, the special edition. What are you doing now?
Well, I laughed. She went, "Is that a thing?"
Yeah, yes, what are you laughing for?
I'm not going to say what we were talking about.
Well,
it would just be indiscreet.
It would be.
Do you want to hear what we were talking about?
No, I certainly don't. I'm pretty sure it can't be broadcast.
It's famously discreet.
I'm sure it can't be broadcast to a family audience at this time of the Friday evening.
It is. It could be.
It could be. Anyway, listen, controversially, we might have a vote to see who's going to win so far. I'm not sure we can find a winner, but one final addition to put in to the mix is my final nominee, and that is the strikers, not just the junior doctors who have been on strike all week, not just the RMT and the other rail unions and ASLEF and all of those who have been holding people to ransom, not just the teachers, not just the passport office who are currently on strike to stop people, not just the French people on strike stopping you getting across the channel, you know, in any method other than a bleeding dinghy. And so all strikers, I'm going to specifically kind of hone in on the nurses and the doctors because they're the last people that should be going on strike, the NHS, because they have ruined an awful lot of people's lives. And I'm just being serious here for a minute. Hundreds of thousands of operations been cancelled. People who wanted to be looked after and helped and aided by the health service who have not been able to get any treatment whatsoever. People are flying to Turkey, to Bulgaria, anywhere in the world to get seen by a dentist because they can't get one here. Absolutely disgraceful. And I don't know what's got to come over all of these people. You mentioned Sir Keir Starmer earlier. You know, he doesn't seem to know what his policy is on strikers either.
No.
You know, our kids are not being taught in school.
Be nice to them, I think, is his general policy.
But just give them everything you want. I mean, these idiotic junior doctors are asking for something like 39% of a pay rise or something. It's like, get over yourselves, you know?
You know, my big gripe is people don't strike properly anymore. You know, back in the day, in the 70s and 80s, it was sort of flat caps and dark coats and drizzling rain.
Dropping
and,
pavement slabs from motorway
police on horses. Now it's just adult, it's adult rag week, isn't it? They're all there dressed up in, like, transvestites with their socialist worker party signs and their chicks with dicks right signs. And it's just like, what is this? Glastonbury?
I know.
For, like, old people.
It is, and they're all whistling and blowing horns and things.
It's not serious anymore.
And of course,
it's not miserable.
This is in between queuing up at the food bank because they're so weak from hunger.
And still having to walk up the bloody hill first thing in there.
As somebody said to me, they sent this in when we were talking about the nurses' strike, said the only strike they should be going on is a bleeding hunger strike because I've seen some outside the hospital. But anyway, that's enough of that. Now, I think here's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to vote, OK? So I'm going to give you three names.
Can we vote our own?
You can vote your own, but I'm going to narrow it down. I'm going to narrow it down to one, Matt Hancock. Right, it's got to be. Two, Harry and Meghan. And I think number 3 is going to have to be Alvin Bragg. So, first of all, it's by a show of hands, and I may have to take the deciding vote. So, between the 4 of you, first vote up is Harry and Meghan.
Obviously, I'm going to go there.
You said that was going to be the winner.
I feel like he's played the whole programme for the sympathy
Hancock.
vote.
No, Matt
Hancock gets it from me.
He's obviously won.
That's unanimous. Alvin Bragg. Melvin.
I'm going to
It's Matt Hancock by a mile, but we should just respect Isabel Oakeshott by a mile.
I think thanks to Isabel Oakeshott for all sorts of reasons, but for this particular time, we have to say the plank of the year so far is Matt Hancock. Thank you very much indeed to all of you. That was great. We should do this every week. Oh, yeah, we do. Jeremy Carl, Isabel Oakeshott, Will Geddes, Alex Phillips. What a fantastic team. Mate, we don't need anybody else to do this show now. This is the team. This is it. Coming up next, it's Nadine Dorries. Sorry it wasn't the BBC, Nadine. Enjoy Friday night. We'll see you next time.